By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying.
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, giving all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High King of the universe for life, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And thanking all of you, recurring viewers who continue to come back to the channel. We thank you all for continuing to come back and listening. We pray that the Most High God be with you all, that he will protect you, guide you, keep you, that he will cause the devils of your minds to come to fruition, those intentions being the righteous ones and the good ones. Praying that the Most High God will bless the works of all of your hands, and that the Most High God be with you. Early Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will allow you to be as good as you can be, as an Israelite, as a person, as a parent, as a brother, sister, uncle, aunt, whatever it is. We pray that the Most High God be with you all. We are going to go over the portion Ki-Tissa today, and also highlighting certain parts of the Purim history, which is found in the book of Esther. And before we go over that, like I tell you every week, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that anytime we upload a new video, you will be notified. So thank you all once again for joining us. I pray that the Most High God will open up your minds to be receptive to the understanding and to the wisdom that is being brought forth today. So without any further ado, I'll pass it on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Much better, Baruch Hashem. Giving praises to the Supreme Intelligent Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform I'm on, the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yariel ben Saska, to the host Chief Uzael, to the Princess Chief, Corny, Rabbinette, Maureen, brothers and sisters, visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to say Adonai Septai Jitaku Fiyagiti Atheakar. O Lord, open down my lips, and my mouth should declare that praise. And I'd like to thank those that was, sending the prayers for my health, as far as throat-wise. That's pretty much it. For a guy like me, not to be able to talk, that seemed kind of serious at times. But, a lot better. Can't hit them high notes, but I'm working on it. But I thank you to all the people that kept me in mind. And also, on another note, I'd like to also extend my condolences to Chief Mikhail, Chief Shimon, and to their family for the loss of their loved one yesterday. So, my condolences. May the Creator comfort you amongst all of the mourners of Zion. And also, I'd like to thank all the people that's been taking time out to listen to these podcasts, even with my voice up and down. Sometimes I know it would be a stretch to hear what I have to say sometimes. So I appreciate that as well. Now, this week was that passed. Purim. Then you had also this particular Shabbat with Ki Tissa. And it's interesting that they don't normally come close to around the same time every year. This Purim story and the Sidra, Ki Tissa. But I'd like to speak on some things concerning Purim. I know some communities when I say amongst the Israelite community, not necessarily as far as Jewish communities, everybody observe Purim, but among some Israelite communities, they might not observe it and don't consider it important. But I'm just going to share some highlights about the dynamics of the day of Purim. Not to go into too much into the story of Purim, for I'm sure that those that read the book of Esther, they already spoke about it in the various congregations, those that observe it, and those that don't quite, observe it. Well, you go also read the information in the book of Esther. So I'm just going to highlight some different points about the significance of that day, Purim, because we know it was instituted by, not by God. It wasn't instituted by God. And, it was instituted by actually the leadership, the Sanhedrin of antiquity. And it was proposed by a couple of individuals, but I'm going to come to that in a moment. Now, and the reason I'm going to speak on that is because Purim is the plural form for Pur, which is lots. And we have a day called Yom Kippurim, a day of lots. In English, most people say the Day of Atonement. We used to say, have a play on words, at one meant with God, in that sense. But when you look at the book of Esther, now it's listed amongst the writings in the scriptures, in the canon of Tanakh. So, and I want to just go and speak about, just to read a little bit of the opening of Purim, the book of Esther, and then I want to go and skip back and focus on something within the 9th chapter of Purim. So, in the opening of Purim, in the book of Esther, and Esther was actually a Persian name that was given to her, which means to be hidden, and but in their language it meant to be a star. But in Hebrew, it will be Ayah, or be high, and she supposed to keep her identity a secret. And what's interesting, as I say in the past, is that no one seems to be 100% who they are throughout the whole book of Esther. And one of the things, I will point out just a few points, and then focus on the point I want to convey before I'm going to Ki Tissa. Now, we're talking about, basically, the year 400 BCE. All right, we're dealing with this particular portion of Esther, and it opens up in the first chapter. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus who reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 and 20 provinces, that in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the castle, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, and the army of Persia and Media, the nobles and the princes of the provinces, being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty, many days, even 180 days. So, anytime you can party that long for him, you got things pretty much under control, you would think. And when these days were fulfilled, he made a feast unto all the people that was present in Shushan, the castle, both great and small, 7 days, in the court of the garden of the king's palace. There were hangings of white, fine cotton, and blue, borders, and cords of fine linen and purple, upon silver rods and pillars of marble. The couches were of gold and silver, upon a pavement of green and white, and shell, and onyx marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse from one another, and wine, more wine in abundance, according to the bounty of the king, and the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. So he's partying at that particular time. We know this is what set it off, showing the magistrates council. But you notice the last part when you're talking about he had a special party that for 7 days, and these are the people that's around the royalty, up that area, and according to God in the king's palace. So what is interesting is that we have Israelites when the Babylonian Empire had fell, and the Medo-Persian Empire, and became the reigning empire, that we find through this time that the king, that Cyrus had already made a proclamation for all those to go back, that's willing to go back to build the temple for the Creator. Now that's at the beginning of the conquest, and the takeover of Babylon. So now we have some time since that period of time, since Cyrus. And what we find also is, and it gave you an estimate of time of 3 years, but you could, give or take, a little more or less, so to speak. So we have a kind of a time frame there. So when we look at the celebration that he had, we're gonna find out later on, and I'm not gonna read everything because I want to just highlight some things in reference to that. Is that when he was in feeling his great, glory, really feeling groovy, drinking, and most of it was drinking, a lot of drinking. So what you find also is that, there's a lot of drinking going on throughout the book of Esther. A lot of times they talk about a feast, and use mishteh, which is like a more like a drinking feast, like a wine banquet, so to speak. But in any event, so when the king was married, he wanted to have his queen come out with Vashti. Now, according to some historians, this woman Vashti supposed to have been the granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar. That's according to some historians. You could debate it, discuss those things with your leaders or teachers in those various areas do the digging. But she was supposed to be actually the granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar. And the thing is that a lot of times they tried, like Nebuchadnezzar tried to keep some of the royal seed in power in Jerusalem before they really start messing up. The king of the Persian Medes figured, hey, we're let you run things, but you under us, you're not over us. And also allegiance, a contract that if I'm married to your daughter, a granddaughter, then that should put you in a better stead, because now we become not just business individuals, or sovereign and subordinate, but we become actually family. So that's one of the viewpoints on that particular area there. And she partying and doing her thing as well. And he wanted to come out with just the royal jewels on. Now, most people would say she just had the bling and no other garments on. So, and that's one of the things that was, and being a woman of nobility status herself, that it would be repugnant for her to step out like that. But why would the king and his wine and his drunkard, would ask such a thing? But nevertheless, we know how the story goes. She refused, and he had her taken out of his position. And then he had the first pageant. But the pageant was, in history, not looking for a wise woman, a woman of quality. All the requirements were that the woman was beautiful and a virgin, and she had to be, make such an impression on the king in one night that her status would be assured. Now that's something. And talk about, most people when they get ready to get to a relationship, women would say, "This is what I expect out of this man." A man would say, "This is what I'm looking for in a woman." So then, that's usually what you focus on. But at this particular point in time, only then after you got rid of her, and when it's alcohol and everything subsided and you're looking back, one of this princess, Memucan, out the 7 princes that still perform, which also is another thing they try to say. Commentators point out that this same guy is the guy that we talk about in the story, which was Haman, or Haman, as they were saying in most English circles. That's the same guy before the name was changed, which brings a little bit more dynamics to the story. But I don't want to just focus through the whole story. But one thing we know that, in short, this same guy said, "Let the finest woman, be found throughout the land, virgins, beautiful," and that's it. And, we know that Esther was snatched up. And one of the things where you volunteer, I'm sure some might have, nominated themselves, but for the most part, it was a snatch up. If you look good, if you're beautiful, you're a virgin, it doesn't matter who you engage to. Right now, you're royal property, which is a whole nother dynamics, which I'm not going to go into now. But anyway, we know that it was a certain guy, and in the second chapter, which is interesting, and that it said there was a certain Yehudi in Hebrew, which in English they say Jew, in Shushan, the castle, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Yair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captives that had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Yehudah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. I read that they gave you some timeline of this guy who we call Mordecai. Now, and the reason I read that, they gave some timeline, because the last king on the throne when the temple was destroyed was Zedekiah. Zedekiah. He was the last king that was on the throne, when it was destroyed. And Jehoiakim was taken off the throne and was replaced, by him. And what is interesting is that Jehoiakim wound up, well, he wasn't destroyed or slain. He stayed in Babylon the rest of his days. So if Mordecai was snatched up with him, that means he was of some prominent status. That's automatically when he was snatched up and went to captive, and he came there as a captive. So to give you a time of the age when you're saying that we were supposed to be in Babylon, for 70 years, so figure 65, with good time. So, but even then, figure 65 years, and even if you was a youth like Daniel and Ananias, Azariah, Mishael at that time, what you find is that this individual, guy, Mordecai, he's up in age at this point in time. So he's definitely, at least, and up at the very minimum, upper 70s or 80s. So he got some age on him at this particular time. So I just want to give you some backdraft of the individual, and also that he has status in that sense. So, and why would I say he has some kind of status? Because we don't know what his original name was. I mean, that's except to rabbinic tradition, what they speculate and stuff like that. I mean, what they say in rabbinic tradition. But what we do have here is that we find that he had to qualify to have his name changed. So just like Daniel's name was changed about Belshazzar, Ananiah, Azariah, and Ananiah, Azariah, Mishael, they was changed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They had to have some kind of status, being around royal circles, in order to have the name changed. And you notice that even from back in Egypt, Joseph around royal circles, when he was into the employment of prestigious people, especially the Pharaoh, his name changed. His name didn't change when he was with the, even though he was working for somebody of status, until he got the real royal circles. So I just want to bring a little black draft of that, and it said, and he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maiden was beautiful form and fair to look on. And when her father and mother were dead, Mordecai took her for his own daughter. And that was his cousin. All right, so now I just wanted to give you a backdraft on her. All right. Now, what I want to focus on, and I want to give you a little bit of a time frame of what we're talking about and some of the people that's involved. Now, the first time you find the term, Yehudi, pretty much is right here in the book of Esther. And what is strange about it, he's a Benjamite. Why call yourself pretty much, a Yehudi, a Judite. And that's how you say a Judite in Hebrew, Yehudi. All right. Today they use the term Jewish or Jew, but this is basically where you find that first coin, pretty much here. So now I want to go into the ninth and talk about this book. I'm not going to go into the history of it now. I'm sure, you could go over it later. But I just want to highlight a few things so I could get into the Sidra Ki Tissa and deal with the importance of observing and keeping up with Purim. So I'm going to go to the 9th chapter just a little bit and share some things. So skip all this here. I'm going to the 9th chapter, and I'm going to focus pretty much on the 31st and 32nd verse, but I want to read a little bit of the 9th chapter so we get some ideas. The 9th chapter, it said, in the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decrees drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have rule over them, whereas it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus to lay hands on such a sort to hurt them, to their hurt. No man could withstand them, for the fear of them was fallen upon all the people, and all the princes of the provinces, and the satraps and the governors, and they that did the king's business helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai was fallen upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went forth throughout all the provinces. For the man Mordecai waxed greater and greater, and the Jews smote all the enemies with the stroke of the sword, and was slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto them that hated him. And in Shushan, the castle, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. And then it goes on to name these other guys. So I'm going to skip down to 11 first in the 9th chapter, 9-11. So you can remember that. On that day, the numbers of those that were slain in Shushan, the castle, was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan, the castle and the 10 sons of Haman. What then have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now, whatever thy petition, it shall be granted thee. All right. So we know that this was one of the requests that Esther had, when she had to be schooled by her uncle. So I'm not going to read all that area there. I'm going to skip right on down to the 17th verse. On the 13th day, the month of Adar, and on the 14th day of the same, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were in Shushan assembled together on the 13th day there, and on the 14th day there, and on the 15th day of the same day rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. All right. Therefore, do the Jews of the villages that dwell in unwalled towns make the 14th day of the month of Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and sending portions one to another. I want to bring that out because when we get to the 32nd verse, I'm going to skip right down to the 32nd verse right now. I'm 31st and 32nd, and share some insights, and then I'll talk about Ki-Tissa. But I believe in some of this history is really important to get an understanding of why we do what we do. In the 31st verse of the same chapter, 9th chapter, so 9:31, it says, I stopped in 30. Sorry. All right. All right, so all right. Now, this letter is sent out. But I might as well do 29 to make sure people get because I'm skipping so much. 29. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abigail, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote down all the acts of the powers to confirm the second letter of Purim. And he sent letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their appointed times, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them. And they had ordained for themselves and for their seed the matter of fasting and their cry. And the commandments of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. That last line, and the commandment of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. Now, what book we're talking about? And I'm before I'm going to finish off. Right here. I'm not going to go back and I'm going to talk about this. What book are we talking about that was written? Then we read that Mordecai and Esther and Mordecai both sent letters out. And who are they sending it to that have the authority to do that? Mind you, we dispersed to 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. That means we all scattered now. And yet you still got a few in the land that went back. So who are you sending it to for them to observe? Is it a centralized authority? That's what we first got to ask. Because we ain't telling the Ethiopians to observe it. We're not telling the Medians or the people of India to observe it. We're telling Israelites throughout the provinces to observe it. So that means you have to, and one thing, that means you have to have a community. That's one thing to think about. when we go here. And also, we know that Ezra came back already scribing the law. So now, if he's already scribing the law, what books are he talking about? Now, basically, when we talk about the books of Tanakh, we normally basically say it's around the 24 books of the Tanakh. But in actuality, when we talk about the books of Tanakh, I'm being a little bit more precise. When I speak in general, I just say 24 books. But to be precise is that when was the canonization of the scriptures of the Tanakh? That's the first thing we must ask when we talk about the book of Purim. And if it's talking about if the book was canonized at a certain point in time, then what book is Esther asking for this information, not only the history, but also the observance of it to be placed in a book and to be observed? It had to be people of authority. That means that you're talking to the Sanhedrin. I mean, Ezra came back with leadership and a Sanhedrin. And he came back already scholar in the law, already scribe in the law. That means that the canonization of what we consider the Hebrew text, and not counting the writings now. I want to make it clear, as I go through it. It's not counting the writings at this point in time. I'm saying the canonization, we talk about the first 5 books, Joshua and everything like that, all the way up to the book of Malachi, the prophets in Malachi, up to Malachi. All right. So that means we're talking the other writings in the book, and what it doesn't even stop there. I want to highlight some things here, and I'll be open for questions later, but I'm looking at my time. But it doesn't even stop there when we talk about the writings. We say the book of Esther is part of the writings. Man, we know Mordecai's act and what he did to save the king of Persia, and Esther, told the king and warned him in Mordecai's name. That was written amongst the Chronicles of the Kings of Persia, Chronicles of Kings of Persia Media. So his deed and acts written there. So what they both asking for, and what Esther's proposing, and those that study Talmud, there's 2 major Talmud things. I'll just bring out a couple of topics right quick. You have what you call the Babylonian Talmud and the Jerusalem Talmud. The Jerusalem Talmud speaks more about Mordecai and Esther together, where the Babylonian focus on Esther presenting this. But that's another thing for you to research and check. But one of the things I like to bring out in this area, which is interesting information, is that you always ask when this book was canonized. First thing you say is written by man, then when it's canonized, and all the books, we don't count, even though sometimes they do say Samuel 1, Samuel 2, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, in that area there. You just count them as one books and everything like that there. That that was shortened out the 22 books. And then when you put in the other books in there, it makes a difference in the count, because we normally when you talk about because you had 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, and 2 Kings. So when we take the count of the book, which really is the prophecy, prophetic books, and the books that's canonized, that ends at this point in time, at Ezra time, with Malachi. That's what he had. But what's interesting also is that Purim is like to make up somewhat for Pesach, and I'm just going to throw a few things out because I don't have time to really elaborate on it in my time I'm looking at. But any questions, you can always, put it in the chat. that you have in the text itself. You have, and when we talk about Purim and the observance of Purim and how it actually like uh, make an improvement on our Matan Torah experience, which we're going to talk about in a moment. You know, the giving of the Torah, and while God spoke to us, and while we accept it, when we say Naaseh, you know, Manishma, we will do in here. You know, one of the interesting things is that we do and learn, and the wording in Esther, when I just read it, when you look at it carefully in that last portion, you're gonna find that it's gonna be pretty much the same thing. You're gonna do it and learn about it later. You know, experience, you know, get the experience later. So, what's the difference? One is that we stood at the foot of Mount Sinai, but in the Hebrew, is, you know, Takat, you know, Baha, you know, underneath the mountain. So hence you got this midrash about, you know, what the sages say concerning that event, since it says underneath a mountain. So it would imply more of a you know, a duress in reference to that. And then say we said at the foot, said underneath in Hebrew. So those are some of the things you might want to look at and discuss amongst your teachers. I'm just pointing out some things to focus on. And the thing is that we was obligated to a degree because we're rescued. So now it's like, all right, I gotta show my gratitude some kind of way. You brought me out of a situation. You brought me here. You did this X, Y, and Z for me. So now I gotta show my gratification. So we accept the Torah, but we say we don't want to hear anything from God anymore. Not that full self-surrender. You know, and there's a lot more I could speak on comparing to Purim. And Purim, the edict that Haman put out was to kill anybody, not by nationality. If a guy just look, and I'm no longer, I ain't part of them people anymore. You know, I don't worship like that. Because if I'm out 127 provinces, don't you think I'm gonna start looking like some of the people in the neighborhood after a period of time? So only a few things might be different about me, my actions. It's almost like we today, if we all wear a suit and a tie and wear our hair in a certain style, and don't wear no kind of, you know, garment or indication of a particular sect, everybody have a certain shade, will look like everybody else have a certain shade, regardless of what nationality. Then you have to be asked, what is your nationality? Because it won't be that readily, you know, I mean, you know, identifiable. Now, if you have, you know, slanted eyes or certain eyesight, they might say, well, you might belong to this particular group, but I don't know which one. If you know, if you consider, you know, Asian, I don't know which one. So now, if we, and you know, when we look at that, Purim itself, if we say, I don't observe Shabbat, I don't eat, you know, I mean, kosher, I don't observe them other days they talk about. So since I don't serve them other days they're talking about, you know, I mean, I ain't the one you're looking for. You're looking for somebody else, but I'm not the one. So all they had to do was just say, I'm not a Jew, pretty much at that time. And they'd have been bad, but they weren't doing that. They still kept themselves identified as being the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that's one of the things there. So now, when the book was canonized, Esther wanted to be put in. So the writings, and it's listed amongst the writings. So it's put in a sacred text, but a writing, but she didn't stop there, you know, and that it must be ascribed on a Megillah. Now, a scroll. Now, normally by certain traditions, we read the Sidra, those that follow a certain tradition, you know, Mondays, Thursdays, and twice on Shabbat. All right. So you're reading out of a scroll in the first place. But all those times we're reading it is in the daytime. The Megillah must be read at night. That's one of the things, that it must have been read at night. And it must be read out of a scroll. All right. Now, all of them is a Megillah, but when it comes to the book of Esther, whether you read the Sidra out of a scroll or not, you're reading the Sidra. All right. But the Megillah had to be read at night. And there's a lot of other stuff involved in that as well. But I just want to highlight some things is that when the difference about Hanukkah, Hanukkah we celebrate on the 25th. But we celebrate the 25th not because the victory, it's because the miraculous thing was able to rededicate the temple itself. They always say about the oil, but that's another story. I know there'd be a lot of different views on that. But the war, normally you celebrate it when the war ends. We celebrate Purim immediately after the rest. Immediately after that. That's when they celebrate that. And now when you have another thing where you have Shushan's Purim, which is, Purim is on the 14th, but they have one for the castle, which we read about in the book of the 15th. In Israel, when the 15th falls on the Shabbat, they postpone it a day. There's a lot of different things and customs and rules concerning observing Purim. But the main day is the 14th, and the fast is the 13th, going into the 14th. We have two major holy days. Pesach is observed on the 15th. Basically say CHOKMAH. But you started the Pesach at 14th, which is between the evenings. All right, so we started there, but it's actually going into the 15th. So during the full moon at that time, and we deal with Sukkot on the 15th. This is done actually on the 14th, which is also written with a Yehudah, which is like a hand. And you talk about the strong hand of God. You find that in the book of Exodus, and you also read about the Yad HaGadol, Yad HaGadolah, the great hand, the big hand of God. So you're going to find a lot of similarities there. I just want to point out a few things about how the text is. So when we add the writings of the Hebrew text, the writings is coming in later. And so much even controversies of certain writings coming in as late as close to around about the Rabbi Akiva's times and everything, and the closing of the temple. But they say, some people like to say that the canonization of the writing is around 200, BCE, during the Hasmonean period. But that's the writings. But the actual text itself, the 24 or 22 books, as you want to count it, how you count, depends on how you count it, they actually is canonized from the time of Ezra. So I figured I shared a little bit of history there. And then I'm going to Ki Tissa in this little short moment I have left. So I know there should be some questions, but you can always discuss with your leaders about the observance of Purim and how important it is and how it stands out amongst, other days that we instituted. And you don't find you find the miracles of God happening with the Pesach, but you don't see anything where God intervene or talk to anybody directly throughout the whole area of Purim. And then during the Pesach, it was only certain people was going to be destroyed, whereas when we get to Purim, it's the eradication of the existence of the nation of Israel, God's inheritance. So this is more important. With the Hasmonean period, they weren't trying to kill everybody either during the Hasmonean period. And we had some people that want to be on the other side. But so this shows you how great this particular day is. And it's going to be a great day of joy. But so much for that. Maybe another time I'll elaborate a lot more into the Purim story. But it's a very interesting story, and it's a tribute to the woman Esther, who was happened to be the queen. And there's a lot of a lot of jewels and gems in it when you go into it. So I'm going to the book of Exodus, Shemot, and briefly touch on a few things. I'm most likely I have to continue it next week. But for those that want to know about the Sidra, Ki-Tissa starts in the 30th chapter of Exodus, 11th verse, and it continues all the way to the end of the 34th chapter. Now, what we have here is the altar incense, and it talks about that. I mean, we already spoke about that. In the beginning of Ki-Tissa, which means to count. So we're taking the census in Ki-Tissa. And when we take the census, we're taking the census in a unique way. We don't want to look at the persons. And then we talk about a half a shekel, a half a shekel. And it also told what it's going to be used for. And so I'm going to just read a little bit of the opening of that. And said, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, when thou take the sum of the children of Israel according to their numbers, then thou shalt give every man a ransom for his soul unto the Lord, when thou numberest them, that there be no plague among them. When thou numberest them, this they shall give everyone that passes among them that are numbered a half shekel. After the shekel of the sanctuary, the shekel is 20 gerahs, a half shekel for an offering to the Lord. Everyone that passes among them that are numbered from 20 years old and upward shall give the offering of the Lord. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel. Then they give when they give the offering of the Lord to make atonement for your souls, and thou shalt take the atonement money from the children of Israel, and shalt appoint it for the service of the tent of meeting, that it may be a memorial for the children of Israel before the Lord to make atonement for your souls. That means this is going to be a continuous thing, a half shekel they're going to be given. And it's maintenance, because once the service, you're going to have to have sacrifices. The Levites didn't really have no land. So, and the sacrifices for the nation. So you invested in the nation's future. So I just want to go there. And it brings about the brass laver, the keyboard for washing, the basin. It talks about that in this particular portion. And then it comes up with the holy anointing oil, Shemin Hamash Mishkat, so that's, it has the different ingredients, and it's used, and its purpose is used here, and said what it's used for in this particular chapter. I'm going to skip down to the 30. I'm going to speak on I'm going to go down 29th verse of the 30th chapter. And thou shalt sanctify them, that they may be most holy. Whatsoever touches them shall be holy. Ain't that something? They have this oil on them, that normally uncleanness is transferred. And this thing, it says, that it shall be holy. Whoever touches them shall be holy. So now, that means that the Kohen actually can make you holy, or does it mean in this sense that you must be holy in the first place to be able to touch it and get it anointed on you? But it tells you what it does, it said, thou shalt sanctify them, that they may be most holy. All right. So that means more so than before. So you could discuss that more with your leaders. And thou shalt anoint Aaron and his sons, sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, this shall be a holy anointing oil unto me throughout your generations. Upon the flesh of man shall it not be poured, neither shall you make any like it, according to the composition thereof. It is holy, and it shall be holy unto you. Whosoever compoundeth any like it, or whosoever putteth any of it upon a stranger, he shall be cut off from his people. So now, it's a special ingredients that's mentioned earlier in reference to that. So we get into the next thing about the incense. All right. And we talk about the incense, we talk about the ingredients of the incense, which is about 11 different ingredients mentioned in the incense. And in the 37th verse, it says in that same chapter, and the incense which thou shalt make according to the composition thereof, you shall not make for yourselves. It shall be unto thee holy for the Lord. Whosoever shall make like unto that to smell thereof, he shall be cut off from his people. So the incense itself, that means the secret ingredients wasn't much of a secret if anybody else can make it. But the thing is that if you use it and make it for yourself, then you'll be cut off from your people. They didn't say you would die, but they say you're cut off from your people. What that means, God only knows in that sense. And it goes on, it talks about the workers. And it named two workers. And the Lord spoke to Moses saying, see, I call by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur. All right, that means his grandfather was Hur. That's the same Hur who was left in charge with Aaron. All right, so remember that name, of the tribe of Judah. And I filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom and in understanding and in knowledge and in all manner of workmanship to devise skillful works, to work in gold and silver and in brass and in cutting of stones for setting and in carving of wood, to work in all manner of workmanship. And I, behold, I have appointed with him Yehudah, the son of Ki-Tissa, of the tribe of Dan. And in the hearts of all that are wise-hearted, I put wisdom, that they may make all that I have commanded thee, the tent of meeting, and the ark, and the testimony, and the ark of the ark cover that is thereupon, and all the furnitures of the tent, and the table and its vessels, and the pure candlestick with all its vessels, and the altar of incense. And it goes on and saying everything else. All right. So now, and it's including the clothes and everything else. So now, Bezalel and Oholiab, endow, when God gives you a mission, he gives you the provision for the mission. That means that the Israelites do not have to outsource skilled workers to work on the Mishkan for the Creator. That the Creator said, every craftsman, any skilled laborer to build this Mishkan, you have it amongst yourselves. You don't need to have no outside help. We know with the temple, it's a little bit different, though. When we think about Hiram, we had two Hirams, but the one Hiram was actually an Israelite, he living in a foreign neighborhood. But we had other people outside working on parts of the temple. But when it came to the Mishkan, we didn't need anybody from outside help to work and do anything in it. Everything was done in-house. All the skill was within ourselves. So that's one of the dynamics we look at in this area here. Then it goes on to 31:12. And the Lord spoke to Moses saying, speak also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily, ye shall keep my Shabbatot, my Shabbos, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctify you. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that profaneth it shall be surely be put to death. For whosoever do any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of solemn rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generation, for a perpetual covenant is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested. On the 7th day he ceased from his work and rested. So now, that's part of the prayer We read pretty much in the morning, every morning. But when it, and most on on Shabbat morning, on Shabbat itself, and one of the interesting things is that when we talk about the Shabbat, people say, well, most people believe we observe the Shabbat because we need the rest. We don't wear ourselves out, and God commanded it. But that's good that you understood that part. But the reason we actually observe the Shabbat is bearing witness that God created the heavens and the earth, and that He is a God that rules everything and created everything. And the rest and the refresh is a benefit, just a side benefit. That's a side benefit. We don't observe Shabbat because we're looking to get rest. We don't observe Shabbat to be refreshed. Those are benefits that comes with it. We observe Shabbat because we're sharing a testimony to the world that the world belongs to the Creator. He created it, and we also belong to it, and we're making a testimony that this world is operated and belonging to the Creator. So that's what we do, in that sense, when we observe Shabbat. And a lot of people figure, I'm supposed to rest. It's a rest day, so don't bother me. They stay home. The final rest is when you go 6 feet down. All right, now, and this other thing, in the 18th verse, it says, and He gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of speaking with them, all right, upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of God. Now, this come in strangely right here. That means Moses giving information up there, and he's handed the Luco, all right, Luco Adu, which is a tables of testimony, all right, the tablets. Now, in the 32nd, which is the problem here, and let me see if I can get as much as I can in this area here. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us a God, who shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden rings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. All right. Now, the order is important, but I don't have time to focus on the order in that sense. But the order is very important when Aaron gave me this information. Now, why would Aaron give up so quickly? When he wasn't 2 people left in charge, why they brought it to Adam? And who's these people that's bringing it up? Those are questions that say, okay, let me investigate. But and it goes on to say, and the people broke off the golden rings which were in their ears and brought them unto Aharon. That means I didn't get my wife's earrings. I didn't get my son's earrings. I didn't get my daughter's earrings. And people always say, well, men don't wear earrings. That's a woman's thing. But we see clearly here that's not the case. And also we find in Genesis as well. And the 7th verse, and the Lord spoke to Moses, Go get thee down, for thy people that I brought us up out of the land of Egypt has dealt corruptly. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf and have worshipped it and have sacrificed unto it and said, This is thy God, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and I may consume them, and I may make of thee a great nation. And Moses sought the Lord his God and said, Lord, why does thy wax hot? Why does thy wrath wax hot against thy people, that thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt, which with great power and with with a mighty hand. Wherefore should the Egyptians speak, saying, for evil did he bring them forth, to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth. Turn from thy fierce wrath, and repent this evil against thy people. And remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servant, to whom thou didst swear by thy own self, and said unto them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and as all this land that I have spoken of will I give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord repented of the evil which he said he would do unto his people. All right. Then we go down and find out. And Moses turned and went down from the mount with the 2 tables of testimony in his hand. All right. That were written on both their sides. On the one side and on the other were they written. And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, graven upon tablets. And Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted. And he said unto Moses, there is a noise of war in the camp. And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf, and the dancing. And Moses' anger waxed hot, and he cast 2 tables out of his hand, and broke them beneath the mount. And he took the calf which they had made, and burned it with fire, and ground it in powder, and strewed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel to drink of it. And Moses said unto Aaron, what did this people unto thee, that thou hast brought a great sin upon them? And Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord wax hot. Thou knowest the people, that they are set on evil. So they said unto me, make us a God which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, I know not what had become of him. And I said unto him, whosoever hath any gold, let him break it off. So they gave it to me, and I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf. And said, and when Moses saw the people when they were broken loose, for Aaron had let them loose for derision, and some books say naked, among the enemies. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, who is on the side of the Lord? Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves unto him, and he said unto them, thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, put ye every man his sword upon his thigh, and go to and fro from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, every man his companion, every man his neighbor. And the sons of Levi did according to the words of Moses, and there fell the people that day 3,000 men. Okay. And then and Moses said, consecrate yourself today to the Lord, for every man hath been against his son and against his brother, that he may also bestow upon you a blessing this day. All right. Those are important points there I want to bring out, but I'm not going to speak on that much now. All right. So now, we're going to jump into when Moses goes up and said, and Moses returned unto the Lord and said, that's the 31st verse in the same 32nd chapter, 31st verse. All this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them a god of gold. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me out, I pray thee, out of the book which thou hast written. And the Lord said unto Moses, whosoever hath sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. And now go, lead the people unto the place of which I have spoken unto thee. Behold, my angel shall go before thee. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit, I will visit their sins upon them. And the Lord smote the people, because they had made the calf which Aaron made. Now, before I get into this last 33rd chapter right quick, I read that through only because, and I wish I could avoid it, to save time. But I read it through because Moses was told by God while he was up there the first time, while he's getting the first set of tablets, he's up there in the mountain at that time. And when he was up there in the mountain at that time, he winds up, God told him that people already built an idol. They're already worshiping an idol. Moses asked for forgiveness then. Then why he didn't focus that hard then, as until he see it. What we learn from that? He know God is not lying. God is not a man that he should lie. So if God told him what they did and he pleaded for him then when he come down and see what's going on, why should he get angry? And what lessons can we extrapolate from that? Because I'm listening to the Creator. The Creator tell me what's going on. And I'm not saying the Creator's lying. And I'm pleading on behalf of the people that the Creator want to destroy, and I haven't seen anything. But I know Creator haven't lied, and he never lied. And yet, when I get down there, I'm telling the Creator don't let his anger wax hot, and I'm hot. I'm upset. That is some ironic stuff. All right? I'm not that upset up there. I'm pleading for you up there. But when I see it, I'm so hot that I destroy something that came from God, that was meant for all of us and not meant for me. So those are some of the things I'm leaving with. But I'm gonna finish up this here next week. I'm gonna pick it up in this area here, because there's so much in this particular portion, that that we need to speak about. But we know that Moses come back up. What we couldn't learn is that even though the Creator told Moses what's happening, that if you hear something bad about an individual, sometimes you say, well, I need to see it for myself. And then sometimes you just could go along with what you hear. Moses hearing it from a source that is never wrong, never inaccurate. But he didn't get upset until he actually saw it. And then when he broke the tablets, you got to say, well, okay, is that your property or our property? Was it supposed to be given to you or given to the nation? So it's another thing that's going on in this particular portion. But like I said, I'm going to finish it up next week as I go into YAH. But one of the things I want to leave you with as we go forward is that, and go in the backdrop of the story, is that the tablets was written with the finger of God. The stone was produced by the Creator, and Moses broke it. Do you think he left it there? Because we want to read where he gets a second set of tablets and say, what lessons can you learn from that? Did you think the first tablet is no longer holy because it's broken? It's no longer sacred because it's broken? How many we get pieces or artifacts or certain things that we say, this is still valuable because it belongs to such and such thing? So that brings about one of the commentaries and stories about the broken tablets are still saved because they actually was written and produced by the Creator. As we get into the second one, we're going to find that the stone is produced by man and carved out by man, but the Creator is dealing with that. And it teaches a metaphorical lesson, which I'm going to leave you with. Before, and like I said, next week, I'm going to come back and finish this portion out. The metaphorical lesson you're going to learn is that sometimes people grow old. They might have been Torah scholars, brilliant in their heyday, and then all of a sudden now they can't walk as well, they can't talk as well, their memory is shattered, they have dementia. Sometimes they hear, sometimes they're someplace else, sometimes they hear, and sometimes they're someplace else. And you say, do I discard them? Do I no longer have that respect for the individual that was a Torah scholar that taught so much, great things to me, and now he's old and decrepit, or she's old and decrepit. Should I avoid them? Or do they have still that value that set me on a course along with other people? So that's some of the lessons you could think about and consider what might have happened to the broken tablets that God gave, because they were items from God. So with that, if you got some of what I said and mistakes from my own, and I'll say, early, Shalom Aleichem, early Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Prince, before you go, Nasik, how many times in your estimation did Moses go up into the mountain besides,
All right.
well, we were,
Now, he went up the mountain many times, but I'm saying, but 3 major times for 40 days and 40 nights. All right, and so it's many times he went up before prior to that. All right, because your first revelation is on the mountain.
right.
All right, so it's many times he'd been up there, but the times that was most significant was them 40 days each time, and that's what I focus on, those 40 days each time. But you could just count how many times he actually went up and come down, and everything like that. But and then God communed with him also, ground level at the tent of meeting, for certain things. But major events, and the 3 times, just to share with people, because I was asked this question often from time to time, and the first time is no problem. It's the last time that's the problem, which you may find in the Sidra, but he went up to pray for him, and that's 40 days, like in the first, and he elaborates that in the 40th year, and when he elaborates that in the 40th year, that prayer, he didn't bring anything. That's why God told him to go back down and carve out some more sets. So, okay, we're going to do this thing again, but this time you're going to put in some work, and that's why you find when you go to Deuteronomy, I always tell people, go to Deuteronomy 9 and 10 and look at it and see the correlation, because he elaborates more in depth. We don't find what God wanted to kill Aaron at that time as well, that he had to have a separate prayer for Aaron. So we got the longest prayer vigilant ever when Moses goes up the second time, before he come back down for the tablets. So that's it.
Do you think that initial time when Moses went up for 40 days and 40 nights, do you think that was a test of the people's patience by the Creator? I often look at it as, do you really believe in me? Are you going to be despaired? Are you going to lose some of your trust in me and what I'm telling you? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I wish I knew what God thought about it, but but in any event, that but the thing was, they already knew. If you could say a person is delayed, that means you had an idea of how long he's going to be gone. Now, it only was a day's different. So, are you impatient? We're told to count, and that's why we're counting the days and approaching. That's why we count the Omer now from Pesach, to Shavuot, anticipation of the meeting. So the meeting is basically 50 days. So every man saying gonna be up there for 40 days, then Aaron said tomorrow will be a feast to the Lord, not that day. Mm-hmm. So evidently, there's always an issue about they miscalculate the day, became impatient, and then the thing is that it doesn't say Israelites came up with the idea, and I always point out that it says the people say, "This be your gods." How we know that it was people said it and not Israelites? Because God told Moses that same thing up on Mount Sinai, that the people said, "This be your God," so Israel. And so who's the people? Mixed multitude. So it ain't just, we reading the text over here and it said, but the people said, "This be your God." We read that when Moses was up there the first time, God told him before Moses seen it that the people say, never said Israel. So it's an important thing to, maintain and remember.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Thanking the Most High God for your life, and pray that the Most High God will continue to bless you, continue to keep you, and continue to get you well. For all of you out there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And whenever you press the subscribe button, also press the notification bell, so anytime a program like this or any one of our other programs come on, you will be notified. Shalom, everyone. Have a good night's sleep. May the Most High God bless you all. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amen.
Amen.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.